Well, good afternoon. Today is the 19th of February, 2021. This one's going to be a little bit different than the other segments that I've done. I'm going to focus, this one's going to be relatively brief. It's going to be on a man who holds two distinctions. Number one, he is the most decorated law enforcement officer, federal law enforcement officer in history. And secondly, he's the most decorated United States Navy enlisted sailor in history. And it's a very improbable story, but it's a true story. And the man's name was James Elliott Williams, who was born in 1930 in South Carolina in poverty, November 13th, 1930. And certainly when you think of the United States Navy, the last big war that the US Navy was in, where you had surface and submarine and air combat, it was really World War II. Now, certainly, you did have Navy pilots who fought in the Vietnam War and Navy SEALs and corpsmen who were with the Marines and Seabees. But generally speaking, you wouldn't think of the U.S. Navy as being a big war-fighting organization since World War II. It's more of a deterrent. It keeps the sea lanes open. And you certainly wouldn't think of James Williams' life as leading toward that in any way, either to federal law enforcement or to becoming the highest, most decorated enlisted man in the Navy. But at age 16, in 1946, he fraudulently enlisted in the Navy. You could do that back then. You couldn't do it, but you could get away with it. And of course, not having any skills, he was sent to basic training in San Diego and then was assigned as an undesignated seaman. And for those of you who don't know, an undesignated seaman does a lot of scut work aboard a ship. You peel paint, you swab decks, you do all of the hard labor aboard a ship. It's what's called a boatswain's mate. And a boatswain's mate, again, is it's really the hard work of the surface fleet. And James transferred to a number of ships. But during the Korean War, his ship was assigned off the coast of North Korea. And this was during the time where the communist Chinese had sent troops down across the Yalu River and had basically decimated Army and Marine formations that had invaded North Korea. And those units were doing fighting retreats. But what James was able to do was organize seaborne raids using small boats against targets in North Korea. And for that, he was awarded the Navy Cross, which was the second highest medal that's awarded is available, the second highest valor medal available to sailors or Marines. It's the same as the Distinguished Service Cross in the Army or the Distinguished Flying Cross in the Air Force. So the Navy Cross. Of course, the Korean War ended. He went back to being a boatswain's mate aboard ship. And during the Vietnam War, he was assigned Riverine Patrol, which, for those of you who don't know, he would be aboard a ship in the Mekong Delta, which is the southernmost part of South Vietnam. And the job was to interdict supplies, weapons that were being brought by boat by members of the Viet Cong, which was an insurgent group, or the North Vietnamese Army. And they would board the boats and search. And it was for one of his actions during this time that James received the highest medal of valor, and that is the Medal of Honor. And his citation, the Medal of Honor, was awarded on, bring the day here, took place on October 31st, 1966. He was an E6 boatswain's mate first class, and it took place at Me Too in the Republic of Vietnam. And I'm going to read this. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity, at the risk of his life and beyond the call of duty, BM1 Williams was serving as boat captain and patrol officer aboard a river patrol boat, 105, accompanied by another patrol boat, when the patrol suddenly came under fire by two enemy sampans. BM1 Williams immediately ordered fire return, killing the crew of one enemy boat, causing the other sampan to take refuge in a nearby river inlet. Pursuing the fleeing sampan, the U.S. patrol encountered heavy volume of small arms fire from enemy forces at close range, occupying well-concealed positions along the riverbank. Maneuvering through this fire, the patrol confronted a numerically superior enemy force aboard 2 enemy junks and 8 sampans, augmented by heavy automatics fire from the shore. And in a savage battle that ensued, BM1 Williams, with utter disregard for his safety, continued to fight in the withering hail of enemy fire to direct counterfire and inspire the action of his patrol. Recognizing the overwhelming strength of the enemy force, BM1 Williams deployed his patrol to await the arrival of armed helicopters. In the course of his movement, he discovered an even larger concentration of enemy boats. And not waiting for the arrival of the armed helicopters, he displayed great initiative and boldly led the patrol through intense enemy fire and damaged or destroyed 50 enemy sampans and junks. This phase of the action completed, and with the arrival of the armed helicopters, BM1 Williams directed the attack on the remaining enemy force. Now it being dark outside, and although BM1 Williams was aware that his boats would become even better targets, he ordered the patrol boats' searchlights turned on to better illuminate the area, and moved the patrol perilously close to shore to press the attack. Despite a waning supply of ammunition, the patrol successfully engaged the enemy ashore, and completed the rout of the enemy force. Under the leadership of BM1 Williams, Boatswains Mate First Class, who demonstrated unusual professional skill and indomitable courage during the 3-hour battle, the patrol accounted for the destruction or loss of 65 enemy boats and inflicted numerous casualties on enemy personnel. His extraordinary heroism and exemplary fighting spirit in the face of grave risks inspired the efforts of his men to defeat a larger enemy force, in keeping with the finest traditions of the U.S. Naval Service. And he was awarded the Medal of Honor by President Johnson in 1968 for that action. He retired from the Navy in 1967 as a first-class boatswain's mate, and his decorations include the Medal of Honor, the Navy Cross, the Silver Star, the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, and he's had numerous awards of those, the Navy and Marine Corps Medal, the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, the Combat Action Ribbon, the Presidential Unit Citation, Good Conduct Medal, Navy Expeditionary Medal, and numerous other medals. But again, this makes him the most highly decorated sailor in the history of the United States Navy. And upon his retirement, he's retiring out as an E6, which is not very high. He's not even a chief petty officer. And he applied for a job at Wackenhut Security in the federal courthouse for the United States Marshal Service, but President Nixon nominated him to be United States Marshal for the District of South Carolina, and he was confirmed by the United States Senate and sworn into that position in 1969. So he was sworn in as U.S. Marshal for the District of South Carolina, and he held that position until 1977. President Carter did not reappoint him. So at that point, he transferred to Glencoe, Georgia, which is where the Marshals train, as an instructor, an armorer, and remained a deputy marshal, and in 1979 was again reappointed U.S. Marshal for the District of South Carolina. Again, as U.S. Marshal, he's responsible for, he's the chief federal law enforcement officer for South Carolina. He is the U.S. Marshal. He would have a force of deputy marshals working for him. Later on in his career, he was transferred to U.S. Marshal's headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, and retired out in 1989 at grade 15, GS 15, despite the fact he never finished high school. You know, that's highly unusual, but again, you can't keep a good man down. He died on October 13th, 1999 at age 68 in Florence, South Carolina. So today we remember BM1, and he was honorarily given an honorary promotion to Chief Petty Officer, Willie, or James E. Williams, who was also known as and has the distinction of being the most highly decorated from military service, federal law enforcement officer that I know of anyway. And he's a Cherokee Indian, again, a guy who grew up with 2 strikes against him, but he took lemon and turned it into lemonade. And today he remains the most highly decorated enlisted man in the history of the United States Navy, and also the most highly decorated federal law enforcement officer in history. So hopefully this has been interesting to you, and look forward to seeing you on my next podcast.